Welcome to the Sarah Finkelstein Show, where the next 10 minutes can change your life. Also on Spotify, SoundCloud, and iHeartRadio. Here's Sarah.
What a title, huh? Start saving your pennies. Well, I think we all know that pennies don't go as far as they used to. So maybe we should start thinking about saving our $20 bills, our $50 bills, our $100 bills, and save many, many, many of them. Did you know that most Americans are not prepared and not planning for the greatest threat to our long planned for, carefree, worry-free, enjoyable retirement? What the heck am I talking about? I am talking about risks. There are many risks on the road to retirement and many risks during retirement. But did you know that the probability of getting into a car accident is 1 out of 366? So let me ask you, would you even dare to get in your car without having auto insurance? I think not. Did you know that the probability of having a fire occur in your home is 1 out of 850? But would you dare not insuring your home? I think not. I would venture to say that most Americans do pay for a homeowner's insurance because the catastrophic financial burden could be huge. Now, of course, if you're in the construction business, maybe you can forego homeowners insurance because if something happens, you could fix it or you have the staff to fix it yourself. But everybody else does not have that luxury. So we insure our cars, we insure our homes. But did you know that the risk of needing long-term care is 2 out of 3 people over the age of 65 will need long-term care at some point for a certain amount of time? I repeat, 2 out of 3, that is 70% of people over the age of 65 will need long-term care. Now, I dealt with long-term care for my mother, and other clients have dealt with long-term care issues, and it does require appropriate planning. So why do I say you need to save your pennies and save your dollars? Well, there was an article a couple of months ago in the New York Times which talked about family caregiving. That means that people who need long-term care are getting the services that they need through informal caregiving, which is usually through a family member or a friend. So let me share with you. Less than 5% of the population that is over the age of 65 are in nursing homes and assisted living communities. So if they're not in nursing homes and they're not in the assisted living communities, where are they? You guessed it. They are at home receiving care from their relatives. And did you know that 42 million people are caring for an aging friend or family member? And of course, this number will continue to increase dramatically as the population ages. So as we get older, the probability of needing care is increased. And did you know that the largest growing segment of the population are those people that are age 100 and over? Yes, it is very true. So the need for long-term care, let me just explain what long-term care is, as some of us may not be really familiar unless we've had a family situation that we learned from, as I did with my mom. So during our days, we all perform what's called activities of daily living, which are bathing, eating, dressing, toileting, getting in and out of a chair, cognitive issues. We do that without even thinking. But there may come a point in many of our lives where we may need some assistance with those activities of daily living. Now, this requires important planning. And this is one of the areas of things that can happen that you don't foresee, you're not planning for, because you may just either not have had the experience, or you think that you will never need it because today you're very, very healthy and you anticipate that you will continue to be very, very healthy for the rest of your life. And I'm here to tell you that when you have to pay for long-term care, so let's start with the most basic type of care, which happens in one's home. Because let's face it, most people do want to remain in their own homes. So they can have an aide come and help them with those activities of daily living. Depending upon what part of the country you live in, would determine what the average cost per hour of an aide might be. So in Southeast Florida, it's roughly $25, $30 per hour. And if you need care for 8 hours a day, well, you figure roughly $200 per day for an 8-hour shift, and possibly more than that. It all depends. A lot of people end up experiencing a shortfall in what the costs are and what their income is. So in retirement, our income typically consists of Social Security, retirement benefits. Maybe if you're one of the lucky ones, you have a pension, which is a guaranteed dollar amount that you get every month for the rest of your life. And then your own savings and investments. But what happens if you deplete all of your savings and investments to pay for care, and you're left with just your Social Security benefit check, and it's just not enough to cover all of your expenses? Typically, families will put their heads together and come up with some kind of a solution. Now, some families are extremely fortunate because maybe they have family members that are extremely wealthy who can throw in several $1,000s a month towards the care of the loved one. Those families are very, very fortunate, because many other families are not in that position where they could throw in several $1,000s a month to make up the shortfall in their loved one's income so that they can maintain and stay at home and get the care that they need. And those informal caregivers, it used to be that the sandwich generation, which is those people that are caring for an older parent and are also caring and raising children, it used to be that those people were primarily in their 50s. But the article that I just mentioned, that was in the New York Times, mentioned that it's getting younger. So there's more people in their 30s and 40s that are providing care to an older parent or grandparent. And in your 30s and 40s, typically you're working, you have a job. Save your pennies and your dollars, because there may come a time where you need to leave your job for a certain amount of time to take care of that loved one. So start socking away those extra dollars so you can be in a position to help your loved one. It all goes back to planning. Remember, Benjamin Franklin said people don't plan to fail, they just fail to plan. And there are many unforeseen circumstances that we will encounter along our life journey. And isn't it better to have a plan in place so that you don't have to scramble and so that you can protect your nest egg and protect your livelihood? Because oftentimes people who leave their jobs to take care of a parent or another relative may be taking years out of their job experience, and then going back to that job may not be so easy. That job may not be there anymore. Things have changed in the workforce and so on. So it all goes back to planning. And by the way, there are some really wonderful vehicles that are used to plan for long-term care, where you can use a life insurance vehicle to pay for that so that you don't have to pay premiums for long-term care insurance as well as premiums for life insurance. But it all depends on your particular situation. But the good news is there are ways to plan for this to minimize the risk and the potential financial catastrophe crisis that can happen. So reach out to me. I'm glad to help. I also have an article that you will find very informative about long-term care. And the percentage of people that are planning for long-term care is minimal. It is minimal. And it's an important piece of everybody's retirement planning. And why do I say that? Because if you don't have a long-term care plan in place for yourself and your spouse or your relatives, you will deplete the money that you've worked hard for, the money that you saved for your own retirement years. So let's make sure that we all enjoy our long-awaited, hard worked for, carefree retirement by planning. And I really enjoy helping Americans enjoy financial peace of mind by planning in advance. I would like to thank Tony of TRC Voiceovers for the intro and outro work that he has done for the Sarah Finkelstein Show.
Knowledge is power, but only when you implement what you've learned to your own benefit. Tune in next time for even more powerful tips on the Sarah Finkelstein Show.